Good afternoon. I'll be making several adjustments to the Cabinet and other political appointments. We are continuing our leadership transition with younger and newer members of the team taking on larger responsibilities. There are also changes to be made due to recent resignations, so let me run through the key appointments. Shanmugam will be appointed Senior Minister while continuing with his responsibilities as Coordinating Minister for National Security and Minister for Home Affairs. He and Senior Minister Lee Hsien Loong are the two most experienced members of my team. They will continue to provide valuable counsel and will help guide and mentor our younger office holders. Energy is becoming increasingly central to Singapore's economic competitiveness, industrial transformation, and long-term resilience. MTI will therefore be renamed the Ministry of Energy, Trade and Industry, or METI. And it will be led by two ministers. DPM Gan Kim Yong will continue to oversee trade and our broader economic strategy. Tan See Leng will oversee energy and industry. He has already been closely involved in these areas as the Minister in charge of Energy and Science and Technology. Now he will devote his full attention to this portfolio and relinquish his responsibilities at MOM. Over the past year, I've worked closely with our newer office holders. Stepping into political office is never easy. There is no manual for the job and no substitute for experience. But they have settled into their roles well, earned the confidence of their colleagues and of the civil servants they work with, and shown that they are ready for greater responsibilities. So I will promote Jeffrey Siow and David Neo to full ministers, and their portfolios will remain unchanged. I will promote Jasmin Lau and Goh Pei Ming to senior ministers of state. Jasmin will become acting minister in MAM, taking over from See Leng while continuing her responsibilities in MDDI. Pei Ming will continue in MSF and MHA. Unlike the others, he did not come into politics with prior public policy experience, but he has learned quickly and made excellent progress, and I'm confident he will continue to grow and be ready for more responsibilities in due course. I will also promote Sim Ann to second minister. Over the years, she has consistently performed well in the roles that has been assigned to her. Her bilingual strengths are also a tremendous asset to the team. This promotion reflects my confidence that she will make an even bigger contribution to the government team. NTUC Secretary General Ng Chee Meng will be appointed Minister in the Prime Minister's office. After the last general election, Chee Meng asked to focus on his responsibilities in NTUC and Jalan Kayu. In the last year, he has worked hard in Jalan Kayu and settled in there. Now, jobs and workforce transformation are among the government's highest priorities, and there is important work ahead for both the government and NTUC as we help our workers navigate these changes. So I have asked Chee Meng to return to Cabinet. He will strengthen the government team as we tackle the challenges ahead. As I announced earlier, Zaqy Mohamad will be the new Acting Minister of Muslim Affairs. He will continue in MINDEF but relinquish his role at MSE so he can focus on his new responsibilities. As chairman of Mendaki, he already works closely with the Malay Muslim community. I'm confident he will step up to his new leadership role. He has the full backing of the cabinet and will work closely with the other Malay Muslim office holders and MPs to engage the community. Let me round up the other appointments amongst the other office holders. Alvin Tan will move from MTI to MFA. We will assume the ASEAN chairmanship next year. It will be a demanding year for MFA, and Alvin will help to strengthen the ministry during this important period. Zulkarnain Abdurrahim joined the team early this year from the private sector. He has adapted well and shown good potential. He will continue in MFA, but I've asked him to move from MSF to MHA to strengthen the ministry's leadership team while giving him broader experience across government. I will bring Foo Tze Siang and Sean Low from the backbench as Ministers of State. Both entered politics at the last general election. They have made a good start as MPs. I am bringing them into government now so they can gain experience and develop further. while we continue to build the next generation of leaders. To sum up, we are giving the newer and younger office holders greater responsibilities as they step up. At the same time, we are maintaining continuity and experience in the core leadership team. This balance matters because Singapore needs both experienced leaders to steer through immediate challenges and a new generation ready to take us forward. Leadership renewal is therefore a continuous process. We identify people with the ability, the commitment, and the character to serve. We give them opportunities to develop and grow, to prove themselves, and to entrust them with greater responsibilities as they are ready. And that is how we build a strong team for Singapore, not just for today, but for the years ahead. I will invite the others on the panel to say a few words, and we will be happy to take any questions from you later on. Thank you.
Thank you, PM. May I invite Min Jeff?
Yep. Perhaps I can start. First of all, I'd like to thank PM for the confidence that he has placed in us and for his encouragement and guidance over the past year. For me, this year has been a year of intense learning. The portfolios that I've been entrusted with are demanding, each in its own way, but PM has been very generous with his advice and counsel. Now and then, he would take me aside, have a quiet word with me every time that he sees that I can do better. And this has given me the confidence for me to push forward, knowing that he is watching over our development and also that we can count on his support. As a former civil servant, there has been a great deal to learn about political life. Every conversation with residents, with my colleagues, with my mentors, are all opportunities for us to understand a bit better what matters to Singaporeans and how well we can do or how better we can do to serve them. Even in areas where I have brought some experience, I'm reminded how much all this depends on us working together as one team. For example, in the economic strategies review, many of the new office leaders had the chance to forge a new partnership with a new generation of business leaders and society leaders who I believe share with us the mission and the purpose of building Singapore together. This past year, my colleagues at the Ministries of Transport and Finance and the respective statutory boards have been working very, very hard, and they have delivered a full agenda. And I'm grateful for their strong and steady support, particularly those from the civil servants. I also want to give a special mention to the team at Choa Chu Kang GRC. Our grassroots leaders and our growing team of volunteers inspire us and my advisors, my fellow advisors every day. I know this year is just the first step in a very long journey. There are many problems to solve, many things to do. I look forward to doing my part and to contributing meaningfully as part of this team that PM has assembled, and through it to deliver for the people who we are all here to serve. Please let me say a few quick words in Mandarin. 首先，我要感谢总理对我的信任和鼓励。过去的一年，我学到了很多，真的很多。许多前辈给我指导，同事们也给了我很多的帮助。我要特别感谢交通部的团队，这一年来我们一起努力，解决了不少的问题。在海陆空各方面呢，大家都尽力的把工作做得很好。我也要谢谢蔡厝港的团队和居民们给我很多很多的鼓励。接下来呢，我会和团队继续的努力，为新加坡全力以赴，做得最好。谢谢。
Thank you, PM. I'm grateful for the trust and the support that PM has placed in me, as well as all the advice and guidance that he's given me over the past year. And then over the past year, I've also had the privilege of working together with colleagues from MCCY and MOE and seen their dedication firsthand on the ground. I really also want to take this opportunity to thank our dedicated colleagues, as well as our local stakeholders, for the very important work that they do every day. As PM said, there's no manual for this job, and it's especially true for a very wide-ranging portfolio like MCCY, where it ranges from arts and culture, heritage, community, cooperatives, sports, as well as youth. And it's a very important portfolio. And for this past year, my focus has really been to get down onto the ground, to engage all our local stakeholders, small groups at a time, 10 to 15, sometimes one-on-one, but to really understand and hear from them how they experience our policies, what is working, what is not working, and more importantly, what are our common goals and objectives, and how can we all work together to make the community better, to make Singapore better. I look forward to continuing this work together with all our stakeholders at both ministries and working closely with them in the days ahead to make Singapore even better. Thank you. Allow me to also say a few words in Mandarin. 过去一年，我在文化、青年和社区部和教育部有机会跟各界人士一起交流，聆听他们的经验、他们的需要。让我们把工作做得更好。那接下来我也会继续和同事、各界伙伴一起努力，为新加坡服务。那谢谢大家。
Prime Minister has entrusted me with the responsibility of serving as acting minister in charge of Muslim affairs. I accept this responsibility with humility and a deep sense of duty. I've been involved with the community for years through most recently as chairman of Mendaki, MCube, and of course in my constituency in Masing UTGRC. I know this role carries special significance for the Malay Muslim community. I will give it my very best. I want to thank all my predecessors for the strong foundations that they have laid for our community because of their hard work and the efforts of our religious leaders, community leaders, Malay Muslim community partners. The community is in a position of strength today. Over the years, I've learned that trust is built by staying close to the ground, and communities value leaders who are present, who are prepared to listen sincerely, and who are prepared to walk with them throughout any challenges or hardships. As Professor Faishal exemplified, this spirit of engagement, he invested time to build genuine relationships, whether through formal platforms or informal platforms. I've seen also how much that mattered to the community. And it is something that I'm committed to, working with the Malay MPs as well and others, stakeholders, to continue doing this close engagement and working sincerely on the ground. I know this has been an emotional period for many in our community. Many people have questions, concerns, as well as hope for the future as well. So I understand these sentiments, and I can assure the community that our commitment to the community remains unchanged. The partnerships that have always made our community strong will continue. We have capable institutions, dedicated volunteers, trusted religious leaders, as well as resilient families. And together, these are our biggest strengths in our community. Over the coming weeks, I will spend time meeting people from various segments of the community to better understand their concerns on the ground and to work together on the opportunities and the challenges ahead. So the work of serving our community has always been bigger than the minister alone. It is a shared responsibility, and I hope that we will all work together to journey ahead as one united community. Allow me to continue Malay. Saya menerima amanah yang diberikan oleh Perdana Menteri dengan rendah hati. Saya akur akan besarnya amanah yang diberikan ini. InsyaAllah saya akan berkhidmat sebaik mungkin dengan sokongan masyarakat. Alhamdulillah, sepanjang saya berkhidmat melalui Mendaki, Kuasa 3 dan juga di Masing UTGRC, banyak yang telah saya pelajari daripada masyarakat kita. Saya melihat sendiri semangat saling bantu-membantu dan keprihatinan yang sentiasa ada dalam masyarakat kita. Banyak pengalaman yang saya telah timba daripada mereka tentang kekuatan, tentang keikhlasan dan juga semangat saling bantu-membantu yang sentiasa menjadi tunjang masyarakat kita. Saya ingin merakamkan penghargaan kepada mantan Menteri Bertanggungjawab bagi Ahwal Masyarakat Islam dan semua sumbangan mereka. Saya akan terus menyambung ikhtiar mereka pada masa yang mereka telah bina. Berkat usaha gigih mereka, bersama asatiza, sukarelawan, pemimpin masyarakat, masyarakat Melayu Islam kita telah mencapai tahap kemajuan yang meyakinkan. Saya sendiri banyak belajar daripada Prof. Faishal. Yang paling bermakna ialah bagaimana beliau sentiasa berdekat dengan masyarakat. Saya memahami bahawa kepercayaan tidak terbina dalam sekelip mata. Ia lahir daripada kehadiran yang berterusan, kesediaan untuk mendengar dan juga keikhlasan untuk mendampingi masyarakat. Beliau sentiasa meluangkan masa untuk berdamping dengan masyarakat dan usaha ini amat bermakna. Saya berharap akan dapat berteruskan atau meneruskan usaha ini. Saya tahu ramai di kalangan masyarakat kita turut terkesan, ramai juga yang mengutarakan keprihatinan mereka mengenai hala tuju dan langkah selanjutnya. Jadi saya akan terus bekerjasama dengan masyarakat, para pemimpin, para asatiza, sukarelawan kita dan juga institusi masyarakat kita. Dan ini untuk memastikan kita terus memberi sokongan kepada masyarakat supaya masyarakat kita terus maju ke hadapan. Saya juga yakin dengan kekuatan masyarakat kita. Ini kekuatan yang akan membawa kita ke hadapan bersama. Banyak yang telah kita bina bersama. InsyaAllah kita akan terus menyambung usaha tersebut demi masyarakat kita. Marilah kita terus berganding bahu membina masyarakat Melayu Islam yang lebih yakin, lebih berdaya tahan dan lebih teguh bersama. Marilah kita terus maju bersama. Terima kasih.
Good afternoon. I will start by thanking Minister Jasmin Lau and my colleagues at MOE for their guidance and partnership over the past year. Now, skills, training, and jobs are part of the same story, and I will carry my experience in MOE over to my work in MOM. And turning to MOM, I want to first acknowledge Minister Tan See Leng, who has led the Manpower Ministry since 2021. Under his watch, MOM has strengthened the progressive wage model, put in place the Workplace Fairness Act, and also stronger protection for platform workers. Now, those are big shoes to fill. Jobs are on everyone's mind right now, and rightly so. Technology is changing how we work, and I know many workers and companies are trying their best to navigate this change. Our responsibility going forward is to help them through this change. This will mean looking at how we uplift our workers in the most vulnerable segments, helping Singaporeans cope with more frequent career transitions, and also ensuring that lifelong learning is genuinely accessible and relevant. Now, we must also take care of workers throughout different stages of their careers. Of course, we have our younger Singaporeans stepping into the workforce for the first time, also our adult workers managing their careers while caring deeply for their children and their loved ones, and also our older workers who can and want to continue contributing. Now, I will also keep a close eye on retirement adequacy so that Singaporeans who have worked hard all their lives can look forward to their later years with confidence. I spent 2 years at MOM earlier in my career, from 2008 to 2010. So I do look forward to working with MOM colleagues this round. Of course, 2008 is a long time ago. The workforce landscape has changed significantly since then. So I intend to spend time really listening to colleagues at MOM, to workers, to employers, and to union leaders. I'm grateful to the Prime Minister for entrusting me with this role, and I'm ready to do my best. Now in Mandarin. 大家下午好。首先我要谢谢李志生部长以及教育部的同事们过一年的支持和指导。教育和人力其实是同一条脉络，技能培训和就业息息相关，所以我会把在教育部的经验带进人力部的工作中。那眼前就业这个课题是大家最关心的，科技正在改变我们工作的方式。我也知道很多员工和企业都在努力的适应这个变化。那我们的责任 是要确保大家能得到实质的支持，而不会孤立无援地面对这个过程。我们也必须照顾不同阶段的员工，刚步入职场的年轻人，努力兼顾事业与照顾家人的成年员工，当然也有我们希望继续贡献的年长员工。我自己也会密切地关注退休保障，让辛勤工作一生的新加坡人都能够安心地迎接晚年。那我曾经在人力部工作过，所以自己也十分期待再次有机会和人力部的同事们一起共事。但如今的职场环境已经跟以前的不一样，因此我会花时间用心地聆听，听取人力部同事、员工、雇主，还有我们工会领袖的意见。那最后，即使我自己的工作有了新的方向，我还是会继续尽力鼓励大家多学、多练、多用华文，希望大家能像我一样爱上华文。谢谢。
First of all, I'd like to thank the Prime Minister for his confidence in me. I'm deeply humbled by the opportunity to take on a greater responsibility. I will devote myself to serve Singapore as a member of his team. I also want to thank my colleagues in both MSF and MHA, especially the ministers whom I've had the opportunity to work with closely, Minister Shanmugam, Minister Masagos, and Minister Jasmin Lau. Their guidance and mentorship over the past year has been very helpful, and I've learned a great deal from them. I would also like to acknowledge the outstanding officers in both ministries. We have a strong civil service, and I've been continually impressed by their professionalism and quiet commitment to serving Singaporeans, and I've also learned much working alongside them. Serving in both MSF and MHA have been incredibly meaningful. In MSF, I've had the opportunity to work closely with the preschool sector to provide a good start in life for all our children, to push our marriage and parenthood objectives, and to support our persons with disabilities to provide greater assurance throughout different stages of life. These are deeply meaningful and important issues to me, and much of this work is still ongoing. I'm therefore very grateful for the opportunity to continue contributing in these areas and to build on the partnerships that I've built over the past year with the social service agencies, with educators and community partners. At the same time, my work in MHA has given me a deeper sense of appreciation for the many people who work tirelessly every day to keep Singapore safe and secure. It has reinforced my belief that a strong Singapore depends not only on economic success, that's important, but also on strong families, safe communities, and trust and cohesion amongst Singaporeans. Now, the past year has stretched me in many, many ways. Every new responsibility has brought fresh challenges and new areas of learning. I've benefited greatly from the wisdom of colleagues, the dedication of our officers, and the many Singaporeans I've met along the way. And these experiences and their perspectives have broadened my views, my decision-making ability, and strengthened my resolve to serve. In his remarks earlier, Prime Minister touched on leadership renewal. Since the World Cup just ended, let me borrow a football analogy. Teamwork is absolutely important, and Spain comes easily to mind in that regard. But also, we should not forget the other teams from smaller countries like Cape Verde and Curacao. In my opinion, Spain won, and the smaller countries made it to the World Cup because they played very well as a team that they've built across generations. They've experienced players providing leadership and stability. They've emphasized on continuity between generations, and they have a batch of younger players ready to step up when called upon. Now, as a younger member of the team, I'm conscious of the trust that's been placed in my generation of leaders. It's a responsibility that I do not take lightly. I know there's still much for me to learn, and I will continue to keep an open mind, to stay close to the ground, and to keep a listening ear, as well as to work hard to justify that trust. I pledge to serve Singapore and Singaporeans with all my heart, under the captaincy of Prime Minister Lawrence Wong. Now allow me to say a few words in Mandarin. 我非常感谢总理对我的信心，能够承担更大的责任呢，我深感荣幸。在接下来的日子里，我对服务人民的初心将不会改变。我深知任重道远，也会继续不忘初心，不断的学习，不断的成长，努力把工作做好，不辜负总理和公众的信任。谢谢大家。
Thank you, Ministers. We will now open the floor to questions. Just a reminder to introduce yourself and your media outlet. First question, Walter.
Could I ask about the senior minister appointment that you have made? I think the portfolio of senior minister has been with us since '85 when Raja was the first senior minister, but through the years, the senior ministers have never helmed a ministry at the same time. Could you perhaps talk us through your thinking around that, and what does it say about the bench strength in terms of important portfolio like MHA?
Sure. Shan's role as senior minister reflects his role in the team. Basically, as I said just now, he and SM Lee are the two most experienced members of the team. I continue to value their counsel, but importantly, I feel that they have a role to play increasingly to guide and mentor the newer and younger office holders. And that's valuable to me, I think valuable to everyone in the team, especially as we undertake this leadership transition. So the appointment as senior minister reflects that. It's an additional responsibility on top of his current roles as coordinating minister and as Minister for Home Affairs.
Pauline?
Hi, PM Pauline from MediaCorp Chinese News here. You mentioned in your opening remarks that you guys are continuing your leadership transition with younger and newer members of the team ready to take on larger responsibilities. Is that the reason why we are not seeing a second DPM? Then you also mentioned that there are some changes to be made due to recent resignations. 2 days ago, we heard about one resignation, so I'm not sure about the timing of this cabinet reshuffle. Why are we doing this reshuffle now? And if I may ask also about his resignation, because there are some questions as to why you accept his resignation online and many places. And I have one more question, sorry, PM, is on your appointment to promote Ms. Jasmin Lau to be in charge of the Manpower Ministry. What's your rationale behind it? And also to Ms. Lau, 可能可以请你跟我们分享一下，人力部是一个很重要的部门。刚才你有提到，劳动力市场充满不确定性，接下来你会跟工会、跟雇主、跟员工。可是你有没有一些实际的计划？你的优先考量事项又会是哪些呢？谢谢。Thank you.
Thank you. Multiple questions. Let me try to answer them. First, on the DPM, my assessment is that the current leadership structure is appropriate. We have one DPM, but we have 3 coordinating ministers. The coordinating ministers were appointed only last year after the elections. And collectively, that provides a very strong senior leadership team for the entire cabinet. But the situation is always evolving. Leadership renewal continues, and over time, the ministers in their respective roles will continue to develop and grow, and some of them may well take on larger responsibilities. So the structure will continue to be reviewed, and in due course, if and when I see appropriate, I will make changes. But for now, the structure, in my mind, is appropriate. On the timing of the cabinet appointments, we typically will review appointments every year. It's not unusual because there will be promotions, there will be changes, there will be backbenchers whom we see fit to bring into the front bench. So these things are done regularly. I started this process, in fact, earlier in the year. But as with all things, you have a plan, but you also have to take into account unexpected changes. unexpected changes can arise from a whole range of different circumstances. In this year, we had 2 resignations, one out of family and one second more recently because of conduct. But there could be other things that have happened in the past. Health issues have occurred before. So despite your best plans, you have to account for these unexpected changes, and that's what I have done. And based on the earlier plans I had, and also taking into account the resignations, I made the appointments that I did. The fact that these unexpected changes do happen means also we have to continue building a strong pipeline. It's not just the ministers. You need younger office holders. You need good backbenchers. You need a good bench of leaders. And then you can start looking at assessing every individual, assess their performance, consider how well they do, and people develop at different at different pace. Some faster, some are ready for larger appointments earlier. Some will take a little bit more time. Everyone will develop according to their own pace. And my job is to assess, to entrust them with responsibilities when they are ready, and ultimately to put people in positions where they can best contribute to Singapore. And that's what I have done in this latest round of changes, including the appointments for Jasmin. So perhaps I turn to her and ask her to say a bit more about Manpower.
I think, first of all, it has helped that over the past year, my portfolios have shown me a little bit more about the technology that we are talking about AI, but also from the education side, the concerns and the anxieties of younger Singaporeans about to enter the workforce. So I think that gives me quite a good overall understanding of what needs to be done going forward. From what I know of MOM work, watching colleagues in action, as well as from my prior experience, a lot of MOM work does require extensive stakeholder engagement and management. And that's a skill that we've built up over the years, whether in the public service or in our initial year as a politician. So I think those skills remain relevant regardless of which portfolios we are put into. And in the case of Manpower, it's a combination of those skills as well as the knowledge around the technology and the workforce anxieties.
Maybe Nazri first?
PM, I have a few questions on Professor Faishal. Following your dialogue with Malay Muslim leaders yesterday, PM, there has been a significant outpouring of support and sympathy from the Malay Muslim community towards Professor Faishal following his resignation. Many have expressed a sense of loss. Some feel the decision was unduly harsh. And there have been even calls for his resignation to be reconsidered. These reactions may be partly due to limited information available about the case, particularly the nature of the online exchanges and the harassment allegations. I have a few questions. First, can you provide greater clarity on the nature of online exchanges that led to this decision? Second, was Professor Faishal held to a higher standard of conduct because of his position as Minister in charge of Muslim Affairs? Third, how do you respond to the community's reaction so far? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. It was asked earlier too, so it's an opportunity now for me to answer both questions about Prof. Faishal's resignation. It has come as a shock to all of us. And I met the group of Malay Muslim leaders yesterday. I know many are still coming to terms with what has happened. I understand the sentiments fully. When I first heard about the matter, I felt the same way. As PMO had shared in our statement, we first realized this issue when this lady emailed to us complaining about Faishal's interactions with her. It was a very detailed email containing all the details, screenshots, contents of the interaction. When I first saw it, my initial reaction was disbelief and shock. I thought that the contents were fabricated. But as it turns out, unfortunately, they were genuine and the interactions did take place. Some have asked if the consequences were overly harsh. Let me put it this way. First, Faishal himself, reflecting on the matter, realized that it was not tenable for him to continue as an office holder and as an MP. His explanation is that he was trying his best to manage what he felt was an awkward situation, and he did not want to abruptly cut off the interactions with the lady. But he made a very serious mistake, and he accepts that he made a very serious mistake in engaging her, even when the nature of the interactions crossed the line. And he also accepts that his responses, his interactions with her, objectively speaking, were questionable and inappropriate. And that's why he asked to step down. And he asked and requested for privacy for himself and for his family. And we have respected that request as much as possible. Second, I have tried my very best looking at the matter to see if there is a way for him to continue in office even after all that has happened. But remember, this is no longer a private matter between two private individuals and two consenting adults. A complaint has been made against him. It has entered the public arena. And that's why we have to undertake this objectively, undergo a process where we listen to both parties, and we certainly took pains to listen to Faishal's explanations as well. But after doing all that, we also have to look at the evidence and the facts. And when you look at the evidence, you look at the facts, it is clear that his conduct had fallen short of the standards that were expected of him. I shared this also with a few key colleagues in my team. So they reviewed the evidence independently, and they agreed with the same conclusion. And that's why I agreed with his decision to resign. It's the right course of action to take. Thirdly, and to the question that was posed, if this matter had happened to any other MP in the PAP, we would have done the same thing. The same process, the same standards would apply, and the same consequences would have followed. Yes, Faishal is the minister in charge of Muslim affairs. He has responsibilities as minister. There are expectations of him from the community, but our standards would apply to every PAP MP in the same way. I know it's very difficult and painful to lose someone like Faishal. I fully understand that, and I fully understand also the outpouring of support and sympathy for him from Singaporeans and especially from the MM community. He has done good work wherever he went as MP and as office holder. And nothing that has happened, this incident, does not in any way diminish the significant contributions he has made to Singapore over the past 20 years. Under these circumstances, I fully recognize that there may be a temptation for us to see if we can make an exception for him. But I think doing so will only cause more damage and harm to Singapore. In the end, we look at the evidence, we have to do the right thing, and we have to continue to uphold the trust that Singaporeans have in our political system and in our public institutions. It's very sad, it's very unfortunate, but we have to move forward from here.
Fabian.
Thanks. Hi, Fabian from CNA Digital here. PM Labour Chief Ng Chee Meng is back in cabinet. So last year he had said that he asked not to have a position in government, right? And you agreed. So what has changed since then? Did it take some persuasion to get him back in your team? And also from the two recent resignations, are there any concerns that high expectations placed on our politicians may actually turn people away from joining politics, especially when you've on many occasions called for more people to step up to serve? Thank you.
First, on Secretary General Ng Chee Meng, indeed, he had asked last year to focus more time in NTUC and Jalan Kayu. A year has passed since then, and as I mentioned, he has settled in Jalan Kayu. He has spent a lot of time working hard on the ground there. And now, as we look at the situation, we know that jobs and workplace transformation has become a much higher priority for the government. Jasmin talked about that just now. We have had many debates in Parliament about this, many questions too in Parliament about this. And Chee Meng himself had put forward a motion around AI and jobs. So we felt that I felt, given the concerns about the economic and workforce challenges we face, it was timely for him to return to the government, to return to cabinet and contribute, not just as Secretary General of NTUC, but as a minister in my team. I think he will be able to make a more impactful contribution to tackle a national challenge which we face. So I approached him and he agreed to do so. On the challenges of office of people joining politics, this has always been with us. The code of conduct is not new. The standards are not new. We have upheld these standards consistently and we will continue to do so. Does it make it more challenging to attract people? Perhaps it does, and each time an incident happens, I have no doubt people wonder in their minds, do I want to be subject to these sorts of public scrutiny? I understand that, but we have to maintain the high standards. It is necessary in order, as I mentioned just now, it is important for us to do so in order to uphold trust in our system. And I hope even as we do so, there will be Singaporeans who understand why it is important to step forward to serve and to have good people leading Singapore and taking Singapore forward. And that's what I've tried very hard to do in the last round, in the last election. I'm glad I've been able to attract quite a number of promising people to join, and they have done well as MPs, and that's why this round, 2 of them are coming forward from the backbench to be ministers of state. And likewise, over the next few years, I hope I can attract more people so that we can continue to renew, refresh, and strengthen the team, and I can do my part to put together the best team for Singapore.
So you're saying that recent events have not really impacted your plans in developing the country's next generation leadership, like there's depth in the backbench?
That was the question just now that was mentioned. Obviously, ideally, I would have preferred for the resignations not to have happened, both of them, ideally. Obviously, that would have been so much better. I value the contributions of both Poh Kun and Faishal tremendously. They are both very important members of the team. But these things are unexpected, and when they happen, you have to move forward. You have to look at alternative plans, which is what I have made. And because we have a good bench now, we are able to make the adjustments, which is why I have to continually bring in people, attract people, and make sure that we have a good pipeline of leaders for Singapore.
Thank you, PM.
Maybe Yuan Xi first. Yuan Xi, over the ST.
Hi, I'm Yuan Xi from ST. PM, I would like to ask you, you have a very heavy workload, but you still continue to helm the finance portfolio. So can you tell us why you decided to continue with that? And then my second question is for any of the other newer office holders. We've been talking about these high standards and also like maybe the time commitments that people have to make to be ministers. So maybe for any of the newer office holders, like can we hear, whether you're prepared for these to be held to such high standards, and also maybe the time commitments that you will need that might take a toll on your family?
On the finance minister portfolio, I'm always looking to find someone who will be ready to be finance minister. It's a work in progress. second question, would anybody?
Maybe I will share. As a parent of young children, the commitments of this job are really challenging. But I would also put it a different way. There are many jobs out there that put the same pressures on workers and on parents or caregivers. It's the same 24 hours, whether you do it as a politician or a nurse or a doctor out there. And so I think we split the 24 hours the same way as many other people have to do so, and then we manage it as best as we can. I think in terms of standards that are expected of us, we know before we join what the standards are. And so if we are in it already, the standards have not changed from what we thought the standards were, and they have to be respected, regardless of how tough the job may be.
If I may add, I have 3 young children. My eldest is in primary 6 this year, so PSL is coming pretty soon. The youngest is a kindergarten kid. So it's always a reminder for myself to make sure I spend enough time for them. Like what Jasmin said, we only have 24 hours a day is how we apportion the time. And I would be the first to confess there isn't enough time. And therefore, I think family support is also important. And perhaps I can use the opportunity to thank my wife for being a very big pillar of support in this regard. In terms of the high standards, indeed, the high standards, like what Jasmin said, I fully agree. We know the standards before coming in. And in fact, I think it's the high standards that has kept the system strong through the years. And I think it's the high standards that I'm proud of and that I will live by them. And I hope anyone who joins the party, who decides to come on board, will likewise embrace the high standards.
And after that, Martino after that.
Hi, Tessa from the Business Times here. This is piggybacking some of the questions earlier. So I understand now Minister Shanmugam will now be Senior Minister. Also, other than MOF, MHA is the only one with 2 second ministers now. So is the plan for Minister Shanmugam to eventually give up his MHA portfolio sometime during this term of government? Thank you.
You can look at all the appointments. MHA, I don't think is the only one with 2 second ministers, because MOF also has 2 second ministers. And you may then look at the tea leaves and speculate whether some of them are possibly in the pipeline to take over. But indeed, I mean, it's the reality is these are all roles and responsibilities where we want to expose office holders, we want to assess their suitability, and over time we hope that some of them will be in a position to take over. So I'm always doing that for different ministries, and certainly whether it's MHA, MOF or others, I will work with the team, assess their suitability, assess their readiness, and in due course, if they are ready, some of them may well take over to lead the ministry. Leadership ultimately is about ability, performance, and readiness. And my job is to assess every individual and make sure that they are able to function at their best, and together, collectively, they can contribute and give the greatest contribution to Singapore.
Martino.
Hi, I'm Martino from Mothership. So PM, we noticed that a majority of the political office holders in this press conference are from the 2025 batch, and altogether there are about 9 political office holders. How do you see the core of 5G leadership taking shape? And the second question is, can you elaborate more in terms of the significance behind the MTI name change and the splitting of responsibilities between DPM Gan and Minister Tan? Thank you.
Thank you. Well, I did deliberately ask the office holders from the latest batch to come for this press conference, because indeed it's a way to show that the renewal is happening. And you can see from the appointments, the new ones who have come in are doing well, and they are ready to take on larger appointments. And so the renewal is happening well, and I believe it will continue to take place, and over time we will see more of the 5G emerge from this process. On MTI and the name change to METI, as I mentioned just now, it reflects the growing and central role of energy in our economic development, our industrial transformation, and also our long-term national resilience. We used to talk about the water challenge in Singapore as a national existential matter. Increasingly, energy going forward will be the national challenge for Singapore. Not energy per se, because we can have energy through fossil fuel, but clean energy is going to be a major challenge for us. How we can continue to power our needs while achieving net zero. And so we are pursuing this work with a lot of focus. The work scope is expanding greatly. For example, we have shared that we are embarking on the feasibility study for nuclear and the IAEA process next year, which is happening. So as the work expands, the portfolio in MTI is growing rapidly. Energy is no longer just peripheral or just one part. It's a very key segment now of the MTI work. And hence, the name change we feel is appropriate. It's not just a matter of name, but it reflects the central role that energy plays. And because the work of METI is now so large, we think, and I think it's appropriate for two ministers to helm it. One focusing on trade, which is already a lot of work because you have to do lots of traveling, and in today's environment, with the sorts of geopolitical changes we are experiencing, a lot of negotiations around trade, as you might expect. Kim Yong has been leading that, and he will continue to lead that. But separately, energy and industry becoming more important, so having a minister, not a second minister, but a co-minister, leading that separately within MTI, we feel it's appropriate. So it's perhaps somewhat unique, but not unusual, as in we've had it before. If you recall, there was a time when we had MOE, and we had two ministers in MOE. So likewise now, given that MTI's work has expanded, I believe it's appropriate for the two ministers to helm the respective aspects of the new METI.
Thank you. Ke Yang from Zao Bao. I have a few questions. One is still regarding the building of the 5G team. So how would you assess the progress now? If you put it on a progress bar, is it at 25% or 50%? Or are we already looking at the lineup forming up? So that's the first question. Next one is on acting prime minister arrangements. Previously it will be if you're not available, then it will be DPM Gun. And then if DPM Gun is also not available, you have the three coordinating ministers. So now with SM Shan taking on a new role, so will he still be one of those who will be acting? So for some clarification on that. Third question is on, you mentioned about energy being a big piece of work now, and to add it to the name of MTI, to call it METI. But why was it that you didn't split it up into two ministries like what other countries would have done? That's the third question. And one more question specifically for Minister David Neo. So there was one comment that you made earlier that minister have no time for movies. So now that there's a lot of talk about time just now, so maybe we want to hear from you. What's your take on making that comment? Thank you.
Thank you. The progress of 5G, it is progressing well. There is no fixed timetable. Of course, I would like it to progress as quickly as possible. But as we were discussing and as I explained just now, people progress at different pace. You cannot force this. Everyone learns and grows at their own pace. Some faster, some takes a bit more time. So there is really no fixed timetable. I will have to assess each one's readiness, and then in due course, make the necessary appointments. But as you can see from the appointments we have made this round, even within the year, it's just 1 year since the last GE, we are making progress, and I'm confident we will continue to make good progress. On acting Prime Minister in my absence, it's DPM and the coordinating ministers, but we will have adjustments if necessary in due course. We will share that if necessary, if there are any changes. On why not a separate energy ministry, which some countries do have, I'm not ruling it out in the future. At this juncture, the energy role, the energy work is still growing. It's not stabilized yet. And it's not clear how it will evolve in the next few years, depending on decisions we make, depending on the feasibility studies we are undertaking. There is a possibility that the work requirements may grow significantly. And as and when we think it's necessary, then we may very well make another move to restructure further. So I'm not ruling it out, but I think this move is necessary for now, given and appropriate for now, given today's circumstance.
Well, I should just not tell any more jokes. But, as with all things, we all learn. And every time there's criticism, we take it positive. I take it positively as feedback, and it's just a matter of how things are experienced by different people. We look at it, and then I ask myself, how can I do better going forward? And then that, I think, is the spirit in which I just keep taking in feedback and keep improving.
This is from Business Times. Just a follow-up question to Prime Minister's response on MTI becoming METI. I think this is a great signaling of how important the energy issues will become in the future of Singapore's economy. But I also recall that Minister Tan See Leng also held the title of Minister in charge of Science and Technology. So what will happen to science and technology, which is also key economic priorities for Singapore as well?
I know it is important. And science and technology remains part of METI's remit. A-star, R&D, these are all important parts of economic development. So See Leng, as the METI Minister in charge of energy and industry, will still oversee that portfolio. Now you may ask, again, if you look around the world, some ministries do have a dedicated ministry focusing on science and technology. And they call it that, literally. And sometimes they combine it with AI, they combine it with the infotech aspect, which is now in MDDI. So there is no perfect solution here. You can restructure ministries in all sorts of different ways and put different names to the different organizational structures. But given our current focus, as I mentioned just now, the central role that energy plays, I think what's important is to reflect that appropriately in MTI's new name of METI, and then to organize the work accordingly.
Maybe we take a last few questions. We do Charlene. We take a few questions at the same time then. Charlene, then.
Hi, Minister. This is Charlene from CNA. I have a question for Mr. Jeffrey Siow and Mr. David Neo. Earlier on, Mr. Siow mentioned he learned a great deal about political life. So wondering for both of you, what have been the biggest political lessons in the past year or so? Thank you.
Well, being a civil servant is very different from being a politician and being a minister. I've used this analogy before, but my guys don't really like it. But I think I moved from being a product developer to really more of a product manager. There's a lot of explaining to people what we are doing, why we are doing certain things, and persuading people in the best way possible, in the most efficient way possible, in the most effective way possible, what you're trying to do. And some of that persuasion is not just about the policy content, it's not just about the rationale and the logic, but there's a lot of the emotional connection that you need to make. And that's something that has surprised me, but also in some ways really delighted me because it's something that I enjoy. meeting people, hearing from them, understanding what is it that matters to them, and then how best we can work to support them and serve them. So that's been the biggest transition, and I'm looking forward to doing more of that in the years ahead.
Well, I think for me, it's been about being able to spend enough time to listen to and hear from the very diverse and very wide range of stakeholders. In my previous roles, I tend to be more focused on a particular area, but in this ministry, it's about portioning enough a time to support our local arts and culture groups, to support our heritage practitioners, to support our community leaders, to support our religious groups, our sportsmen, and sportswomen, as well as our youth. So it's very wide-ranging, and but it's something that's crucially important. I think it's important to spend enough time to understand each segment, what is important to them, how are they experiencing and feeling our policies, what's working, what's not working, what are their dreams, what's their aspirations, what role can the ministry play to work together with everybody, right, to help achieve our common goals. And that in itself, I think it's the main challenge. The thing I take away from it, and the really positive part about it, is that when you spend time with all the different groups, I'm really able to experience the kind of deep commitment and the deep love that they have for whatever they are doing. Okay, whether is it arts, heritage, everybody shares that deep sense of commitment. And I think this is the commitment that drives me. I suspect it's the commitment that drives all of us to want to do better, okay, not just for our respective portfolios, but to do better for Singapore as a whole.
Good afternoon, PM. This is Lai Pang from Ximing Daily. Yeah. So my question would be, so for this round, right, we have seen 2 significant promotions for female political office holders. So while some may ask whether there's a scope for even greater female representations in the senior cabinet role over time. So how do you view the pace of progress, and what would you like to see in the years ahead? Thank you.
There is scope for greater female participation and representation in Parliament and in Cabinet. I'm always looking out for such talent, and of course, the appointments will be again on the basis of individual readiness and merit. But I believe there is scope.
Okay, maybe one last question. We end with Nasri Lau.
Wrap up all the questions to take a few at a time. I thought you were trying to...
Okay, raise your hands again. Nasri Chikong. And Sean, is it? Sean. Okay.
Yeah, PM. In a period of slightly over a year, 14 months to be precise, there has been 3 ministers in charge of Muslim affairs. Given this relatively high turnover, some in the community may have concerns about the continuity and stability of the Malay Muslim political leadership bench. How is the government ensuring and continuity and depth in this leadership? And what is the longer-term strategy to develop and prepare the next generation of Malay Muslim leaders in Cabinet? Thank you.
Chikong, you ask your question, and then after that, Sean, and then we can take the questions as...
Okay. PM, if I remember correctly, I think this is your 3rd cabinet lined up. With new prime ministers, it takes time to build a team. So would you say that the team is almost there, the key pieces are in place, or are you still, there are some missing pieces? I mean, how settled, or is it a continuous process?
Just following up on Nazri's question, I'm Izwan from Berita Media Corp. So, following Dr. Faishal's resignation, many have expressed concerns about the gap in leadership. And today we don't see significant changes in the role of Malay POHs in the new lineup. So my question is, how does the PAP government intend to strengthen leadership development and ensure continued strong representation of the community?
Perhaps Sean from Asia One. Just taking back to last year, in the same setting where PM actually mentioned global uncertainties as a key reason for retaining a core of more experienced POHs beside you. this year, I think, are we looking at the uncertainties being a new norm that the government is getting more used to, and so more ready to make changes as well as move people up as part of the renewal process? And if so, what's that formula that PM you are looking at in terms of your continuous leadership renewal process?
Okay. Actually, there are just two broad questions, one about the leadership process and another the transition and renewal process, and the second around the leadership. So first, on the cabinet lineup, this is, I think the question was my third lineup, but as I mentioned just now, every year we make adjustments. So our approach is not one of once every few years you announce a grand scheme, a grand arrangement, and then you make changes another few years later. Our approach is one of continuous renewal, continuous adjustments. Every year we assess, we may appoint new office holders, we may do some promotions, we may make some adjustments to portfolios in order to broaden individuals' exposure, and it's a continuous process of renewal and maintaining that balance, as was mentioned just now, because indeed we are assuming that uncertainty is the norm. And to navigate a world of constant flux and uncertainty, you need a good balance of experienced leadership as well as fresh perspectives. And so we retain a core of experienced leaders. And even down the road, if some of them were to relinquish their portfolios, we can still tap on them in different ways. And increasingly, for example, the question was asked about Min Shan and his role as senior minister. I do see the more experienced ones, like him and SM Lee, playing the role as mentor and guide for our younger office holders. And then over time, as the more senior ministers relinquish their portfolios, younger ones can come up as and when they are ready, as I mentioned. And then we will continue that process of renewal, keeping the veterans, keeping the experienced leadership while refreshing the team. That is the Singapore way of leadership renewal. It's a continuous process, and this announcement today reflects that continuous process. On the leadership, we take the same approach. As I said just now, Faisal's resignation is a setback. It's a setback for me, it's a setback for the government, it's a setback for the community, it's a setback for Singapore. We are very sorry that he's left us, especially under these circumstances, but my assurance to the community is that the work continues. The aspirations and progress of the community is a key priority for me and my government. So the projects, the initiatives, the good work that Faishal has done during this short time, 1+ years as Minister in charge of Muslim Affairs, will continue. Zaqy, together with the rest of the POHs and MPs, will continue that good work, working with the other leaders in the community. We will make sure that there is no pause, there is no break. We will continue the initiatives around M3+, the M3+ network, for example, that he had put in place. We will continue the good work of engaging all the different groups. So that's my commitment, that's our assurance, and we will work doubly hard to rebuild any confidence or trust that may have been impacted by this incident. As far as new leaders are concerned, you see them, or I mean, they are there in this round in our MPs and also in the other office holders. I mentioned Zul just now as someone who has come in from the private sector only early this year, and he has already made an impact. He has done well, and he has shown good potential. And over the course of the next few years, we will continue to look at others. As and when they are ready, we may be able to give them greater responsibilities, different appointments, and perhaps even amongst the backbenchers. So as I said, the same approach that we take for leadership renewal applies to the leaders too. And we are always looking out to make sure that we are able to renew, refresh our leadership across the board, including for the community.